Okay, so thought I'd start off today's video a little bit differently than normal. And I want to talk to you today about opportunity before we get to today's video. Now, by opportunity, I mean taking advantage of what's available to us out there as musicians, as artists, as creators, and getting the word out there about all the hard work that we've put into our craft and letting people know about it. So, I want to give you, yes, you, the opportunity to take advantage of my platform here on YouTube and get your music heard. If you have any music that's out there on any of the streaming platforms like Spotify or Apple Music or wherever it may be, Tidal, there's a bunch of them out there. I know a lot of you are using them. Take the opportunity to use my platform here on YouTube to get the word out about your music. Now, how do you go about that? Very simple. What I want you to do, if you're a subscriber, go ahead and put in the comments box down below the name that you go by on your streaming platform, along with the name of the streaming platform that you're on. For instance, ABC Band Spotify. Just put it in there. Please don't put links in there. Don't put links in the comments box. Just put the name of your band or your act or whatever it may be, along with the name of the streaming service that you're on. This gives you the opportunity to let lots of people know about your music and give them a chance to hear it. It gives you a chance to get heard, and it gives you a chance to grow in your career. And while you're at it, I'll ask that you go to my Spotify channel, which is G Sharp Jams with a Z. G Sharp Jams with a Z. Listen to my music. But please, let's take advantage of this opportunity. Go ahead, put your information in the comments box. I would love to hear your music. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is my passion. I love it. And I would love to hear your music out there on Spotify or wherever it may be. Now, yeah, I do have a 9 to 5, but I'm getting ready to retire. And that's the whole reason why I even started this channel. Give me something to do, keep creating. And I plan on dedicating 110% of my time to my craft as far as playing the guitar, recording, mixing, and mastering, and bringing you these videos here on YouTube. But please, go ahead, put your information in the comments box. Again, I would love to listen to your music. It's what I do. Take advantage of this opportunity that I'm offering you. And please, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out as we march forward to that 100 subscriber milestone that's coming up here pretty quickly. We're moving right along with the number of subscribers on the channel, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, to everyone who does subscribe to this channel, when I hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to randomly pull a name out of a hat from the subscribers that I have, and I'm going to give a free giveaway to that one person. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so. But again, take advantage of my platform here on YouTube. Put your information down in that comments box. And in the meantime, let's get to our video today. Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to another video. I am your host, G Sharp Jams, here at FX Studio 2. And today we're going to be taking a look at two new pieces of gear that just came out last week from Solid State Logic and Rupert Neve Designs. And that being the Rupert Neve Designs Newton, which is a channel strip, and the Solid State Logic UF1, which is a single fader controller for your DAW. Now, with any new gear that you purchase or you're considering purchasing, the first thing that you always want to ask yourself is, do I really need this? And am I going to use it? Because if you don't really need it and you're probably not going to use it, why would you go ahead and purchase it anyway? And this is what we're going to be taking a look at today, starting with the Solid State Logic UF1. Now, as I said, the UF1 is a single fader controller for your DAW. Now, what does that mean? It means it has just one fader on it with a lot of buttons, and I'm going to be showing it down here on the screen so you can take a look at it. You can press a button or turn an encoder, And that gives you the ability to switch from one track to the next track to the next track with that single fader on the piece of gear, as opposed to their UF8, which gives you 8 faders. So you immediately have right there available for you at your fingertips 8 faders for 8 different tracks. And then, of course, there is an encoder on there that you can spin the encoder, and that will take you to tracks 9 through 16, and then 17 through 24. That's the big difference between the two. So you have to ask yourself, am I going to feel more comfortable having 8 faders right at my disposal, or is one just enough? Now, one thing to keep in mind with the UF1 is that because it only has one fader, just one fader, it's going to be a lot smaller than that UF8. So if room on your desktop or room on your workstation is a concern and you don't already have a UF8, then you might want to consider getting this UF1. It's a lot smaller. It'll fit nicely on your desktop there without taking up too much space. And if you have a limited amount of space, it's something that you might want to think about. Okay, so number 2, and the reason why you want to take a look at and make comparisons between the UF8 and the UF1, the UF1 has a really, really cool display on it. And on that display, you can take a look at the SSL meter plugin. Right there on your screen, it gives you the ability to look at the EQ settings, so you actually see the visual EQs and the slopes and the curves of the EQ right there on that screen, and you can see that right below me here. And it gives you the ability to, if you don't like to look at stuff on the screen, say within the 360 software, you can look at that on the UF1, in particular that meter plugin. So that can be a plus, or maybe it's not a big deal to you. For me personally, doesn't really matter if I'm looking at the screen or looking at the hardware when it comes to something like that. But for some folks, maybe that's what you like to do. You like to have everything right there, so you're not looking here. Then you have to look up at the screen and then look back down at your controller and look back up at the screen. It's all right there on the fader controller for you. So that's a big plus. So basically, that's the big difference between the two. Now, of course, there is the price. The UF1 goes for about $700, I believe. And the UF8 is somewhere north of $1,300, somewhere around that, in that neighborhood. So, of course, there's the price difference as well. So the question becomes, which one of the two are for me? Well, if you already have a UF8, for me personally, I don't see the reason why you would want to get a UF1. If you don't have either of the two and you want to have control right there on your desktop, looking down at this thing and being able to place your fingers on different controls and move around within your DAW, then the UF1 is definitely for you. The price is right. The controls that it gives you are pretty much right in line with the UF8, but there's a lot more menu diving that goes on because you have to hit the buttons to get around a few different things, as opposed to the UF8. We have 8 different faders, and each fader has its solo, it has its pan, it has a few different items that you can choose right there, where the UF1, you have to go do a little bit of menu diving within it. So those are the big differences between the two, aside from the price. Which one do you go for? Again, if you don't have a UF8, the UF1 is definitely something that you probably want to consider if you're looking for hands-on control of your DAW instead of moving a mouse. Okay, so let's move on to the Rupert Neve Design's new channel strip, which they call the Newton. Now, the Newton gives you a preamp, it gives you an EQ, and it gives you a compressor. Everything that you need in a channel strip right there in one unit, and it goes for about $1,900, or about $2,000 actually. It's $1,999, I believe. The Newton is very simplified. Now, I want to make that clear, because you might look at this and say, wow, I can get a preamp, I can get an EQ, and I can get a compressor for $2,000. Let me jump in and go ahead and get this. Here's what you have to consider. It is very streamlined as opposed to some of the other things that they have available within the 500 series or the Shelford channel strip, things of that nature. It is very streamlined, but it still gets the job done. And that's what you want to get. You want to make sure that you're doing. You're getting the job done. So If you're new to Rupert Neve and you want to have a channel strip with that great Neve sound, this is probably something that you want to look at. However, keeping in mind, now let's make some comparisons here, and I've actually written them down on a piece of paper so I could go over it with you, just to make a comparison price-wise. Now remember that the Newton is $2,000, $1999. Now if you want to make a comparison, let's say you have the 517, which is their 500 series preamp. This gives you a preamp and a compressor. And then you want to add the 551 EQ to that. Those three pieces are going to run you about $1,800. As opposed to, let's say you have the 511 preamp and a 535 compressor and the 551 EQ. The combination of those three is going to run you about $2,600 as compared to the Newton, which is only $2,000. Comparison number 3, if you were to take a look at the 1073, which is a preamp and an EQ, add the 535 compressor to that, that's going to run you about $2,800 again as compared to $2,000 for the Newton. Number 3, and the big one, the Shelford channel strip. The channel strips that kills all other channel strips that are out there, in my opinion. This thing is just killer. However, that Shelford channel strip is going to run you about $4,000. So, who is this Newton for? Again, if you're new to Rupert Neve and you just want to give them a try and you've heard so many great things about them and they're all true, Rupert Neve puts out some excellent, excellent stuff. If you're new to Rupert Neve and you want to give them a shot, this might be the way to go. If you're more in line with 500 series modules and that's what you prefer to use, then you might want to make the combinations that I listed below, the 511, the 535, the 551, the 517, all those different compressors and EQs that they have. So that might be the way for you to go. But if you want one single rack space piece of equipment that gives you a preamp, it gives you an EQ, and it gives you a compressor, and you want to give Rupert Neve a chance, give him a shot, see what it can do, this is probably the way for you to go. I have not listened to it yet, but I can guarantee you, despite the fact that it is a streamlined version, despite the fact that it's only $2,000 as compared to a Shelford, which is $4,000, I can absolutely guarantee you that this piece of gear is well worth every penny because Rupert Neve makes great stuff. They never disappoint. Everything that they put out there is top-notch, top quality. The resale value on those things hold their own. If you ever decide that you want to upgrade your equipment and buy something different or whatever the case may be, the resale value is tremendous. So that's a big positive when purchasing Rupert Neve gear. That's why I stick with them and Solid State Logic. So those are the two pieces of gear that I wanted to discuss with you today. That's Solid State Logic UF1 and the Rupert Neve Newton channel strip. Again, two new pieces of gear, things that you have to think about before you jump out there and make the purchase and decide whether or not either one of these is for you. Until next time, G-Sharp Jams out. Next time I'm going to be back in the studio, so stay with me. Just decided to lounge out and chill out and get comfortable here on my couch in my home and make this video. But we'll be back in the studio for the next video. Keep creating. Remember to think outside the box because there are no rules in this game. You can do anything you want to do as long as it sounds right. Till next time, everybody have a great rest of your day.
Awesome.